Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon from wherever in the world you're coming here today. My name's Josh Garrison. I'm super happy to be with you all. I'm going to dive right in and we're going to get this show on the road. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in sales kind of holistically today. And then we're going to get into the 5 secrets of outbound and how we got the data that I'm going to share with you. And then I'll roll this straight into a Q&A. So this is 5 outbound sales secrets from Apollo's own data, sponsored by Apollo. That's my employer. If you haven't created an Apollo account yet, you can just go to apollo.io and create an account for free. Apollo is the only end-to-end sales engine in the world. It gives you everything that you need to grow your business or to hit your quota. We also post every webinar onto YouTube, and we post it onto our Academy site as well, so you can watch them on demand. And a lot of what we're going to cover today is from our new book. So we wrote a book on outbound sales. The book on outbound sales is actually called Outbound Sales, the Ultimate Pipeline Playbook. It's now available at Apollo Academy. And that website is just apollo.io/academy. We really tried our best to make it valuable. I also want to let you know, if you have never been to knowledge.apollo.io, go there. That's our knowledge base. We've got 253 articles on how Apollo works. So if you ever have a question and you're not getting the help you need from support, or you don't want to open a support chat, just go to the knowledge base. My team keeps this up to date. It's everything you need to know about Apollo. Okay, so who am I? I'm Josh Garrison. I've been in sales my whole career since I was 19 years old, 33 now, getting old, 14 years in. And I lead content marketing, product education, and also product growth at Apollo. I've got kind of an interesting portfolio, but my job here is really just to make you guys successful. That's what I get paid to do. And what I want to talk about today is some of the things that have cropped up over the last few years, the issues that have arose with what we call traditional outbound. Now, traditional outbound, I would say, was this mentality was really, kind of going back from maybe 2010 to 2020, where we needed to grow at all costs. That was what every business was trying to do. And the way that we did that was more actions, more calls, more emails, more everything. More inputs led to more outputs. But what's happening right now, and I'm going to share the data with you guys, is that outbound is changing. And that's always happening. Okay. Outbound's always changing. And what we found is that 10 years ago, we were, as an industry, like as a global sales community, we weren't sending that many emails because tools like Apollo hadn't gotten that popular. But since then, we're now sending 150% more emails than we were 10 years ago. But every single year for the last 10 years, reply rates have fallen 10%, which means that email as a channel has become less effective than it was 10 years ago, which is a problem if most of your outbound is based on email. So what I wanted to do is I took my team and I wanted to figure out what's working today. Because last time I was leading sales was 2022. That's 2 years ago, right? And I know that I'm a little bit rusty. So I want to know what's working, what companies have figured it out and doing it really well, and then how are they doing it to build really quality pipeline that can lead to deals being closed. And so we did a bunch of research that came together in this book. And also you're going to get the best parts of it in this webinar. And I just want to let you know how we got here. We analyzed 500,000 Apollo users, 250 emails, 5 million cold call minutes, all of the work that Apollo is doing in outbound sales, my background, my experience. We interviewed 50 sales leaders and we surveyed 250 of them. And here's what we got from all of that. There's 5 secrets, and I'm going to walk you through those 5 secrets starting now. But I'm going to pause really quickly, take a look at the chat, and hopefully everything's going okay. You guys can hear me. Okay, so what are the 5 secrets? So the first secret is that prioritizing your leads increases the meetings booked. So I saw in the chat when you guys arrived with the question of how would you improve your process? People were saying, I want a list of only people who are in market. And that's actually working really well right now. So what we found is that people who built a scoring model in Apollo, which I'm going to show you how to do, booked almost 50% more meetings. They booked 47% more meetings than the people who don't have a scoring model. And on the other hand, about 30% of sales teams globally, of all the people we surveyed, don't have a scoring model or a prioritization system in place for their leads. They're just kind of going willy-nilly at all the leads. But that made up 80% of the group of people who told us they never hit their quota. So if you're not hitting your quota and you don't have any system of prioritizing your leads or scoring your leads, this could be a really good way to help you prioritize and focus on your best leads in the market and not just be hitting up sort of random people. And if you think about why that is, you guys identified this in that icebreaker question, right? You want to focus 80% of your time on the 20% of people or the 10% of people who are your best leads. And we've got to be able to find those people. And this normally happens in most companies. 80% of your revenue comes from the 20% of leads who are your best leads. And then 20% of revenue comes from the other 80%. So we want to focus on that top of the pyramid. And this is something to know about prospecting and outbound sales in general, is that of all the people that you're selling to or could possibly sell to, let's say there's 10 million of them, only 3% of them are actually, I'd say 1 to 3% of them are actually buying what you're selling right now. 6 to 7% of them might be interested in buying, but they're not ready to buy yet. And then everybody else, the other 90%, those people are not really thinking about buying, or they know they don't want it, or they're never going to talk to you. So if you're going after those people, you've got a problem in your process. So the first thing we have to do is we have to think about, what are the attributes that matter? Like, what are the characteristics of the people that I'm reaching out to that actually tell me if they're a good fit or not? And then what we're going to do is we're going to apply a weight to these attributes. So this screenshot is an example. Like, maybe certain job titles are really good for you. Maybe some other job titles are moderately good. Some job titles are really bad. And maybe that people who've, completed a form on your website obviously are really good leads, or people who clicked on an email you sent a month ago is a pretty good lead, and you might want to reprioritize those people for your calls or follow-up emails or whatever. So that's kind of the theory behind a scoring model. Is we're going to basically take these attributes, we're going to apply a weight to them, and then we're going to build that out in Apollo, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. Okay, so I'm in Apollo. I'm at my homepage. I'm going to go to search. This is probably the easiest way to find the scoring. And on the left-hand side of my screen, I can scroll down to where we have this filter that says scores. And I'm going to go ahead and click this little button that says manage scores. That's going to take me into my settings. So now I'm here, and I can see all the scores that exist already if other people have made scores for me. And this is Apollo's actual version of Apollo. So you guys seeing what Apollo does. I'm not supposed to be showing this to you, but I'm doing it anyway. I'm going to hit create score in the top right. So I'll show you that again. It's just this blue button, create score, hit that button. And now what I'll do is I'll scroll down a bit, and you'll see that I get to choose what kind of score I'm building. So if I'm building a score for people or for companies, and this kind of depends on how you do your prospecting. If you want to go build a list of companies first and then find people at them, you would use the companies button. If you just want to go straight to who are the right people to reach out to, it doesn't really matter what company they're at, you would start with people. I'm going to give it a name. I'll give this best leads for webinar, be the name. I can describe it if I want. I can add a category tag if I want to do that. But now I have these two buttons here, customer fit and behavioral attributes. And if I hit add filters, you'll see that I can actually choose from a bunch of Apollo's data to apply a score. So I'm going to give, I said earlier, hey, maybe some titles are really good for you, some titles are medium, and some titles are bad. So let's say I'm selling construction equipment. I don't know. I would say maybe general manager is a good title for me. Maybe I'll give that 20 points. And maybe project manager is a pretty good title for me. I'll give that 15 points. But maybe I know that, for example, supervisor is not good for me, 0 points. You get no points for being a supervisor. This is a really basic kind of scoring model, right? Where I'm applying weights to different people based on their title. And then I can add more filters, as many as I want. It could be title. I could go by where they're located. I could go by the number of employees at their company, or where, what kind of technologies they're using, or any kind of thing, how many locations they have. It all just depends on what you're selling to, what your industry is. But I could also choose behavioral attributes. So maybe what I want to do is go apply a score to all the people I've already worked in the past to figure out who to follow up with, right? And if I do that, I would just say, hey, give me somebody who opened my email at least 2 times. And if they opened it twice, that would be a pretty good score. But if they opened it 5 times, that'd be a great score. And once I'm done doing that, I can go ahead and I can save my score. Oh, must be greater than 0. Okay, I give him a 1. Okay, so I can save my score up at the top. But before I save my score, there's this button here that says render distribution. And if I click render distribution, what Apollo is going to do is it's going to look at all of my saved contacts here. So I've saved, because this is Apollo's Apollo, I've saved 12.5 million people. And because my score is like really specific, I've got one excellent lead who has like really high points across everything, 565 good ones and 1,100 fair ones. That's what Apollo is seeing from all the people that I've saved so far. So once I hit save, if I come back into Apollo, go to search, I can find that score, which was this one, best leads for webinar. So I can find that score. I can apply it in the search view. And the way I would do that is I would hit this button that says edit table layout. That's going to show the table that I'm looking at and scoring. And I would click this. It says scores. I've got the max already selected. So I've got to unselect something. If you're not following, don't worry. This is just Apollo's weirdness because of how we use Apollo. But I just made this score, best leads for webinar. So I've selected that. I hit next. I can save this view. And then basically when I go to save, I'll be able to filter by what the score was, whether it was excellent, good, or fair, or not a fit. And I can actually rank people based on the score that I just created. Now that takes a while to propagate, especially if you've saved 12 million people. It'd take too long for me to do for this webinar, but that's how you set up a score in Apollo. And if you didn't follow or that wasn't super helpful, I just opened the knowledge base. And if you just search score in the knowledge base, it's going to bring you this amazing article that Sarah wrote on how to create a score. And everything I just did is laid out step by step. So you can go build your own scores in Apollo. So that's the first secret, is that scoring actually leads to a really good impact downstream. If you take the time to go build out a score, you'll then be able to prioritize your leads better. And that's going to help you find lists of people and reach out to people who are much more likely to be in your market. Okay. What's the next secret? The second secret is that single channel selling doesn't work that well. Now I want you to listen to what I'm saying. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm saying it doesn't work that well. Okay. And the reality is, based on all the data that we're finding, is that multi-channel selling is the new bar. That's the new that's the standard. And if you've been in sales for a long time, it shouldn't surprise you. It's kind of always been the standard. But what is surprising is the data. What we found when we looked at 500,000 Apollo users, it's a ton of data. We got more data than anybody else. We found that the people who are only sending automated emails, so that's one channel, just emails and automated emails at that, right? 46% of them book a meeting. So 64% of them never book a meeting. They come in here, they do all this work, they send all these emails, they don't get a meeting from it. Now, I'll be real with you, of that 46%, some of them are booking a lot of meetings by sending these automated emails, and that's all that they're doing. It's totally possible to build an outbound system that just does auto email and that works. But it's less likely that it will work for you because every year it's gotten less effective. But what we have found is that multi-channel selling is way more effective. So if all you do is add a LinkedIn touch to your sequence, you do auto email and then you send them a LinkedIn connection request. If that's all you do, 60% of the people who do that book at least one meeting. And then you can increase the efficacy even more if you add a phone call and a manual email, meaning an email that you've customized, personalized. 70% of people who do that book a meeting. So if all you're doing is automated emails and it's not working, you're not getting enough meetings or you're not getting any meetings, then my recommendation would be to back up and to create a multi-channel sequence that will touch people across multiple ways, right? Not just in their inbox, but also on LinkedIn, their phone. And that's going to work better. That's just what the data shows. And you might be thinking, like, there's only one of me. How do I actually do this? That's a lot of work. The reason I'm doing auto emails is because it's more manageable. But what we can do is we can automate some of the low impact touch points. So let's say like your follow-up emails can be automated. And then you spend more time manually doing your high touch, high impact stuff. And that's going to help you stay organized with a to-do list and really kind of work through your lead lists very systematically, as opposed to maybe just blasting. So if you're not an expert on sequences, which, we've done a lot of content. We've made a lot of content on sequences in the past. You can go to Apollo Academy and you can find it. But if you're not an expert on sequences, I'm actually going to show you. We have a library of templates that you can use right out of the gate. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. I'm going to do it right now. Okay, I'm going to show you Apollo Academy. So this is apollo.io/academy. This is our academy. If you just hover over right here, go to templates, you'll see we have a bunch of templates. Now, what's cool about this is if I want to use this template, let's say find the right contact, not only does Apollo give you on the Academy the exact copy that you can use for every email in this template, but if I click use in Apollo, it's going to take me to my Apollo with that template right here. And all I have to do is click create and customize. And now I've got my template and I can just customize the template to be what I want it to be. We just launched this. This is brand new. So if you guys haven't done this yet, I highly recommend come check out the template library, start using them, and don't use them just out of the box, right? Edit them, make them your own, check it out. This is brand new, and bookmark it because we are going to update this every month. We've got cold call templates coming out at the end of this month. We're going to have social selling templates coming. Every time we do a webinar, we're going to drop new templates, and they're available in Apollo too. You can find them in the Apollo application. Okay. Hope that was helpful for you. So I've talked about two secrets right now. The first secret was score your leads. That leads to the data has proven that leads to more meetings booked. The second secret was multi-channel selling is more effective than single channel, right? And I've given you templates that can help you do that if you needed help with it. So now I'm going to go into the third secret. This actually, I've known about this secret for a long time, like anecdotally, but putting a number to it kind of blew my mind. So the third secret is just picking up the phone, meaning just making a call, even if no one answers, books you more meetings. And we have the data to prove it. If you call someone who you have previously emailed or who you will soon email, even if they don't answer, you're going to book, historically, based on the data, 6% more meetings. That might not sound like a lot, but 6% more meetings, going from 100 meetings to 106 meetings, could go from, not hitting your quota to hitting your quota, especially if you think about this on a team level, right? That's just from picking up the phone. Now, if they answer the call, it goes through the roof. It goes to 30%, but just making the call, even if they don't answer, increases the chances of you booking a meeting. And I know that cold calling sucks. I don't want you guys to think I don't know this. Like, I know that it sucks. And 63% of people say it's the worst part of their job, okay? But the reality is if you practice it, it gets better. And I have this framework for practice. You just do it every day, 25 times a day for your first week on the job. And by day 7, you're going to be pretty good at it. And there's actually a formula for cold calling well. And if you guys aren't familiar with cold calling or you haven't seen this from us before, it's in the book, but I'm going to run you through it right now. One of the tips that we found from the best cold callers in the world was getting to a question as fast as possible. And I don't want you to think that this is like the script you have to use. This is an example of a script. I used to be really successful when I cold called. I would say, they pick up the phone and I'd say, hey, this is Josh. This is a cold call. If you don't like what I say in 30 seconds, I want you to hang up on me. Is that okay? And now I've asked a question because I said, is that okay, right? And I'm telling them, it's a cold call. I want you to hang up if you don't like what I have to say. Everybody, not everybody, some people hung up right away, but a lot of people were like, okay, I'll hear you out. In a similar vein, people would say, hey, here's an example. It's Josh, cold calling you from Apollo. Do you mind if I take 10 seconds of your time? It doesn't matter if that's the question. You can ask any question here, but if you get to a question as quickly as you can, it puts you in the driver's seat of the conversation because they're responding back to you. That's where you want to be. And there's this method called the mic drop method that our friends at Barley came up with. And what they did was 5 seconds of a call would be, the first 5 seconds be a permission-based opener where they ask permission to pitch. Then they'd have maybe 15 to 30 seconds where they state a problem and then provoke with a question. Then there'd be several minutes of back and forth with the prospect. And then they'd be the closing portion of the call where what they're doing is setting up the next call, setting up the next step. So their process looks something like this. Hey, I know you're not expecting my call. Do you have a minute to chat? I promise I'll be brief. Most of the marketing execs I work with say they're overpaying for lead generation, anywhere from 25 to 40%. I saw your CEO said that you're looking to reduce costs. Obviously, you customize that based on what you can find out about the company. And then now you want to ask a question. You want to provoke them to respond and say, hey, I'm curious if that's impacted your appetite for lead gen versus bringing more of it in-house. This is just an example. The principles are what matter, not the copy. And so the tip here is open-ended questions are the way you get people to respond to you and have a conversation with you. Close-ended questions, meaning a yes or no answer, that's a dead end. That's a way to just get somebody to hang up or just be like, no. So you'd be like, do you need this? And they're like, no, boom, hang up. And instead you'd be like, you want to ask an open-ended question, like, how much time have you guys spent thinking about this? You can't say yes or no to how much time, right? You have to think about it and kind of answer. So you want to be provoking responses with open-ended questions. And we actually have a chapter in the book that's all about cold calling. Everything you could possibly want to know about it, we cover in there. Okay, so let's continue. We'll go to our fourth secret. This one's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. LinkedIn touches close deals faster. This is crazy. So I'm not talking about conversion rates. I'm not talking about closing more deals. I'm talking about the time it takes to close a deal. Check this out. Nearly 60% of people using LinkedIn convert their prospects in 5 touches or less. So when I say a touch, what I'm talking about is like an email, a cold call, a LinkedIn message, whatever. Whereas people who don't use LinkedIn, it takes them 8 touches. So using LinkedIn means you're getting in front of their eyeballs more effectively, and you require fewer touches to actually get that deal going. This is actually really, really valuable because the faster you close deals, the more likely you are to hit your number. And obviously, if you're not a salesperson, but you're a business owner, the faster you close deals, the more money you make, right? If I can close 30 deals in 30 days, I'll make a certain amount of money. But if I can close 30 deals in 15 days, obviously I can make more money over the course of time because I'm closing more deals more quickly. And the thing with LinkedIn is that it's not just about sending messages and doing what we call pitch slapping, where you're just sending a connection request and immediately pitching them. Like, that's not really what's effective. When we talk to the most successful people on LinkedIn, what we found instead was these people were doing a combination of posting and commenting on other people's posts and sending connection requests. And doing all 3 of those things together shortened the timeline of their deals. Okay. Now, we actually have a framework and a structure for how you guys can do LinkedIn, because it's scary and like kind of weird. It can be cringy. You see some people on LinkedIn like talking about politics or whatever. It's like that. You don't want to do that. Instead, you want to use LinkedIn as a way for the people you're reaching out to get to know you. Because guess what happens when you email somebody or cold call them? They're going to look you up. They're going to look up your company. They're going to look you up. If they find your LinkedIn, you look trustworthy, you look intelligent, you have something interesting to say about their industry. Maybe you're talking about a problem they're currently trying to solve. They're probably going to want to talk to you. If they go and look up your website and it's like Snickle Fritz, they can't figure out what you guys do. If they go to your LinkedIn, there's no data on it. It's just like the little icon instead of your photo and that kind of thing. They're like, this is probably a scam. Then they don't want to talk to you. So LinkedIn's pretty important. And Zoe Hartsfield is on my team here at Apollo. She's got a structure for how she posts on LinkedIn, and she used this when she was in sales. This brought her to about 60% of her quota. And so what she would do is kind of map out the topics she wants to talk about on LinkedIn. Topic number 1 would be a problem that you solve, not the product. You're not ever talking about the product. You're talking about the problems. So Apollo, we don't want to talk about Apollo on LinkedIn. We want to talk about sales. We want to talk about lead generation or outbound, right? Second would be another problem that you solve. The third thing would be an industry topic. What's going on in the industry? The fourth would be just something you're passionate about. The fifth would be something related to your company. Now you're not always just talking about the same stuff. You've got a rotating cast of 5 different things that you're posting about. And then once you're doing that, you don't have to post all the time. You post once a week, once every 2 weeks, whatever. You just have to have some presence, right? And instead of you want to be doing that, then what you want to do is you want to go leave comments on your prospects' posts if they're posting on LinkedIn. And you don't want to look like this. This is not the way. You don't want to just be like, yeah, good post, good stuff. Couldn't agree. You don't want to do that. Instead, you want to be leaving insightful comments, right? Like, take time, take a couple minutes, leave a comment that means something. Thank them for their thoughts. That's going to get you a lot farther than just nice. You don't want to just leave 1-word comments. And if you're doing that, then this multi-channel selling that we've been talking about that came, the second secret becomes a lot more effective. And you can do sequences that look like, hey, here's an email, here's a LinkedIn post, here's a phone call, here's a connection request, here's another email, here's maybe something I send you in the mail, here's another email. Like, you're mixing it up, and that's how you become much more effective than if you're just doing one thing. Now, we have a webinar on this topic. We're going to go deep. Next week, my boy James O'Sullivan and Zoe Hartsfield are going to be doing this webinar about social selling on LinkedIn. Highly, highly, highly recommend you guys check that one out. Register for it. You'll get an email about it. And these templates are available in the book. Okay. Fifth secret is C-suiters do read your emails. So we actually analyzed almost 1 billion emails sent from Apollo, 976 million emails. And what we found was that VPs and C-suiters, so people in the executive function, actually open emails. They open about 21% of their emails. So that's the average open rate of emails, cold emails sent to these titles. Every other title opened emails at about 23%. So it's 2 percentage points of a difference between CEOs and VPs versus lower level people. Now, what that means is when you send an email out to a CEO or a VP, there's a good chance they're opening it. And if they're not responding to you, that means you're blowing it. Like you're going to the highest ranking person in the organization. And if they're not interested, it's going to be really hard for you to get that deal through the door. And there's 3 ways to hit your quota, right? These VPs and CEOs are really important because the first way is to just go what I call whale hunting. You're going for a few big deals. You're just going after the big dogs. Second way is to close a lot of small deals, which is probably easier on a per deal basis, but it's harder because you're managing a lot of volume. The third way is to close a mix. And I've always been most successful with the third option, where I've got a couple big deals that I'm trying to bring in, and I've got a bunch of small deals I'm trying to bring in. That maintains a good momentum. I've always got something closing. I've always got something in the pipeline, but every now and then I get a big hit that gets me a lot of the way to my quota, or brings a lot of money in the door. Now, the thing with selling the C-suite is if you're sending those emails out and they're not replying to you, but they are reading them, you're hurting your chances of selling to that deal. And the way to overcome that is you need your own C-suite to help you get introduced to their C-suite. And that's the right way to sell to the C-suite, okay? So it's a referral, because if you get referred into them, now you don't have to deal with the cold email business. You can do a warm email and they're going to open that email, like, for sure. Okay. So the best way to get to the C-suite, get a referral. And I want you guys to think about this. Those of you who are of a certain age will remember this phrase: 6 degrees of separation between you and Kevin Bacon, who's an actor. And this is actually true for like everybody on earth. There's only 6 people between you and any other given person on the planet, meaning you know somebody who knows somebody who knows that person. So we're not trying to sell Kevin Bacon, but we're trying to sell somebody. And it's likely that you know somebody who knows them, or you know somebody who is them, right? So I want you guys to think about, rather than just cold emailing all the time, I want you to think about how to get introduced to the people you're trying to sell to, get a referral to them. And if you can't get a referral, use these degrees of separation in your cold email, because they are reading your emails, right? So your email is going to be a lot more effective if you say, hey, VP, I noticed that we both know this guy. That guy's a great guy. Used to hang out with him a lot. Here's why I'm reaching out to you. You're name dropping and making it clear that you're not just a stranger, you're connected to the person you're trying to reach out to. They do open your emails about 21% of the time. And if you have a really enticing offer, and you make it clear that you're part of their community, they're part of their network, you're a lot more likely to get a response and get some of those big deals coming in the door. Now, if you aren't sure how to get introduced to people, I actually showed you this before. It's in the template library. It's a template called Find the Right Person. And I'll show you guys that again. I'm going to do that right now. If you guys can see my screen. So this is the template library on Apollo Academy. So here I am. I'm on the Academy. Templates. I can just Command F, find the right contact. This is going to get you connected to the right person. So you can use this template to get the right introduction. So that is the 5 secrets from Apollo's own data that we went through today. Okay, so the first question that I'm seeing is, any tips for better response rates. I'm getting a 15% open rate while using the show me you know me method and still very few response rates. So this is from Tyler. Tyler, what I would say is 15% open rate is a problem. So show me you know me is not working for you. Try something different. You want to see like the average open rate across 976 million emails from sent via Apollo was about 20%. So if you're coming in at 15%, that's actually a lot lower. You're going to need to do something different with your subject line. That's the problem. Your subject line is the issue with the response rate. But if you're getting very few responses, that also tells you that the body of your email is problematic. There could be a couple things going on. Maybe you're trying to email the wrong kind of person. Maybe nobody wants what you're selling. That's like the honest answer. Like if you try a bunch of different stuff and nothing works, it could mean that cold emails is not a good channel for you. It could also mean that you don't have what we call product market fit. So without knowing more about your business specifically, that's what I would say. Okay. O is asking, how do I follow up with people who open multiple emails or emails multiple times, but they never reply? It's a great question. And yes, Rachel, there's a recording available. We'll email it out to you. So if you are getting people to open your emails, but they're not replying to you, you should call them. And I can show you how to do that in Apollo. I'll show you how to find the people who've opened your email so you can call them. So I'm in Apollo right now. I'm in search, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to saved. So these are the people who I've already saved. And I'm going to hit this button that says more filters, and this is going to fly out. Now you'll see here, engagement activity is a type of filter. And what I can do is I can do this. I could say email clicked on an email link. If I say yes, I could say like a minimum at least one time from, this month, whatever. I could put whatever filter I want here. I'll see I've got 110 people in Apollo. Now, there's a couple different options for what you can do. You could just go call all of these people, select them, get their mobile numbers if you don't have it. And you could do that just by clicking here or highlighting here. So this one, right? Like, and I don't have her mobile number. If I just click here and I request direct dial, Apollo's going to get it for me. So you could just go call these 110 people because these people have opened your email in the last month. That's like the easy sort of quick and dirty way to do it. The second way you can do it is actually you can create an automation to do this. It's called a play. So I can click create a play from scratch. And basically what I can say is when somebody opens an email, then add them to a sequence. And I would create a sequence that's just got a cold call in it. And then this will happen automatically. So anytime somebody opens my email, I get a cold call task in Apollo to call them. That's a good way to do it. So if you don't want to just cold call people out of the blue, you only want to call people who are opening your emails. This is how you do that. We have like call people who've opened your emails. That'll get more responses. Okay, cool. All right, I'm gonna run that poll again, and I'm gonna keep going to the Q&A. So I have a question regarding when you see the contact. Sometimes the access email got a red cross checked. There's no email available, so why have it just for the LinkedIn? Yeah, exactly, Patricia. So it could be the LinkedIn, it could be their name, it could be just the fact that they work at that company. Maybe you have an address for them at the company. So there's a lot of different reasons you might want to have their contact information, even if their email is not available. Okay, Abed is asking, how much does the domain authentication affect the email being labeled as spam? This is a good question. So the answer is a lot. The answer is a lot. If you have not set up your email verification properly or your authentication properly, this means DKIM, DMARC, and SPF. If you haven't set that up properly and you're sending emails anyway, your emails are going to go to spam. And it's no good. So I'm actually going to send you guys a link. If I'm talking words that don't make any sense to you right now, we have a webinar on this. And it's called Mastering Email Deliverability. So we actually walk you through exactly how to improve your deliverability and how to set it up properly. If you haven't watched this, I highly recommend it. Okay, going back to the Q&A. So is there a way to enrich lists that I already have via Apollo while not having company domain or LinkedIn page? I'm not sure, Lujane. I'm not sure exactly. I don't know exactly what you mean by that. So maybe we'll have to follow up with you. Not entirely sure. How can you limit the emails that bounce even if Apollo verified it? Yeah, so this is a pretty common question. So sometimes you're going to go into Apollo, you're going to say, give me verified email only. and you're going to send the email, and the email is going to bounce. And that happens because people change jobs, they change email addresses. Like, it's just not always perfect. So how can you limit it is the question. I'm going to share my screen again. This is probably the best way, I would say. Well, honestly, there's like two answers. One answer is you could always use a third-party verification tool, or you can do what I'm about to show you. So in the search view of Apollo, I'm going to go into my saved contacts. Here's what I'll do. First, I'm going to be looking for, so again, the question is, how do I cut down my bounce rate on verified emails, right? So I'm going to look for email status is verified. But then I'm going to look for this. Oh, did they? I don't see it actually. Let's see. There should be a filter here called last updated in Apollo. Yes, right here. Oh, it's date. Sorry. So I am in saved. Okay. I fly out my filters. I'm looking for verified emails only. And then there's this filter. It's under the miscellaneous tab. I just typed in Apollo in the search, but if you want to find it, it's right here. It says date refreshed in Apollo. So this is probably the best way to do it, where I could say, like, give me only people whose contact information was refreshed in Apollo within the last 3 months or within the last however period of time. And it may not work for saved contacts. It may only work for net new. I'm not entirely sure why it was not giving me any results right then. But this is probably the best way. And then you're just going to make sure that you have, here we go. So we've got 14 million people that we've updated in the last 3 months. So that's one way that you could do it. The other way is just take your list, throw that into a third-party verification tool. That's going to tell you which ones they think are going to bounce. And then you would not email those people. We are building our own re-verification tool like that into Apollo and improving our verification filtering. But that's the best I got. I hope that was useful for you. Okay. So Peter's asking, how many domains should you buy when you're sending cold outbound emails? If you're sending only 20 emails a day, does this need to be done? No, I would say no. At 20 a day, no. Now, there's no hard and fast rules, okay? If you're sending 20 very spammy emails every day where you're like, would you like to update your auto warranty? You may be getting all 20 of those marked as spam, and like that may require some other results or some other work. But generally speaking, if you're doing the right things, you're not being scammy, 20 a day, you should only need one domain. Okay. Gabrielle is asking, is this application good for recruiting? And I think the answer is yes. A lot of recruiters use Apollo. What you can do in Apollo, if you're a recruiter, you probably don't want to be emailing people at their work address about finding a new job. So there is a filter in Apollo where you can find people's personal address or personal email address. The one thing I would caution you here is that there are very strict spam rules for personal email addresses. They're much less strict for business email. So if you're a recruiter, be very careful about how many emails you're sending every day to personal email addresses. But we do have a lot of recruiters using Apollo. It's actually like our third biggest group of users are recruiters. Okay. We have a bunch of questions around buying intent in the Q&A. So people are asking about buying intent. I'm just going to give you guys an overview of what buying intent is, and then I'm going to actually show you where to find it in Apollo. So Apollo has this filter called buying intent, where what we do is we've partnered with two main providers, LeadSift and Bombora, who have these networks across the internet. Basically, like, you know how there's cookies, like every website you go to is like a cookie banner. Well, they consume the data from a lot of these cookies from across the web. And they've gone and they've kind of like bucketed out like a certain, maybe 1,000 websites are all about medical devices. And 1,000 websites are all about graphic design. And people who are on those websites are looking for graphic design or looking for medical devices or whatever. Now, they are keeping track of all this. And what they're doing is they're looking at the IP addresses, who are going to these websites. And these are not the IP addresses of individual human beings. These are IP addresses that are associated with a company. So what you can do in Apollo is you can basically find what companies are interested in certain topics based on their web traffic. So here's how to do it in Apollo. Cool. All right, some of you are saying repeat. I'll talk through it again. So Apollo has this filter called buying intent. And basically what we're doing is we're looking at what are people looking at on the internet? Like what kind of stuff are they interested in? And I say people, but really it's companies. Like what does their web traffic indicate about what they're interested in? So we have these buying intent topics in Apollo, and there's this filter on the left. It's called buying intent. And we've given different scores, which is based on how recently and how often people at a company are going to those websites. So basically, let's say that like we're looking for people who are interested in artificial intelligence in sales. This is a hot topic right now. What we're able to do is we can tell what companies are like have web traffic going to sites about artificial intelligence in sales. That's what buying intent is. So it's telling you someone at this company, Madden, or someone at EDF is interested in AI in sales. What it's not telling me is that Cedric, this particular guy, is interested in AI in sales. That's not what it's telling me. It's just saying somebody at that company is interested in it. So the way you would use buying intent would be to help target the right companies. And then you still need to go figure out who at those companies to reach out to. But now you know something about their business, right? You know that at a company level, somebody's interested in AI in sales. So you can target your email, you can create the copy in your cold calling script, your LinkedIn message, whatever. Maybe you would have a subject line that's just AI in sales, right? If that's what you're selling. And this is how you would build your list. Like I would go in, I would add my buying intent score of high. I would say artificial intelligence in sales. Then add my additional titles. Now I might say like VP of sales, right? And so what Apollo is going to do, I'm going to run this search, whatever. Here it's giving me, I've got 88,000 people who are a VP of sales who are interested, like high intent for AI in sales. So if I'm selling an AI in sales software, these are the people I should be reaching out to. And I can say like interested in AI in sales, like as a subject line, right? AI in sales is a subject line. And I'm probably going to have a much higher open rate, much higher response rate because I'm reaching out to people based on the things their web traffic tells me they're interested in. I hope that was useful. Did that explain sort of buying intent to you guys? And for those of you asking about like the density, the answer is based on the volume of traffic. So if they're coming back again and again and again and again to sites that are associated with that topic, that's how we know that. And okay, Vishal, I'll answer your question. It's gonna be the last one. By volume, do you mean number or percentage? It's the number of hits to the site. Okay, so if people are going to buying intent sites, how often are they going? How many different IP addresses associated with the company? That's the calculation. I lied. I'll take one more question. Okay, so suggestions. Oh, I love this. Victoria, suggestions for leaving a voicemail so they get back to us ASAP. I leave a voicemail to people like I'm leaving a voicemail for my best friend. So I leave a voicemail. I'm just like, hey, it's Josh. Give me a call back. I got something good for you. Something like that. Just very friendly, very interesting, like intriguing. I don't try and pitch them. Don't pitch in a voicemail. Nobody likes that. But just, hey, I tried you. It's Josh. We're playing phone tag. Call me back. They're going to be like, what? Okay, like call you back. Do something like that. You get a call back. You just have to know who you called because when they call you back, you don't want to be confused about getting a call back from somebody number you don't recognize, right? So that's what I've always done for voicemail. Always has worked well for me. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I hope this was valuable for you. My team spends a lot of time, energy, and effort making this content. So if it wasn't helpful, tell me. Let me know. Send me an email. We want to learn. We want to get better. We'll send you a poll in an email with the recording. You can tell us there whether you didn't like it or if you thought it was valuable. But I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a great weekend. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you. See you next time.